We're talking all about joy for weeks now leading up to the holiday season because we want this complete joy. And today we're talking about joyful songs. We recently purchased tiny tambourine ornaments for our family, giving them to our children. And we decided that when something good happens, when a prayer is answered or we come through something difficult, we're going to ring the tambourine. And the reason behind this was something a friend shared where she had heard a teaching on Miriam and the women and how they carried tambourines in their bags before they crossed the Red Sea expecting a victory. They were prepared to rejoice. In 1 Samuel 18, we read about how the people sang and danced with joyful songs after David's victories, and joyful songs then were a result of thankful hearts. I love to watch little kids sing, especially in carts at the grocery store. They have no fear of being heard, no awareness of whether they're on tune or singing the correct lyrics. They're just singing a joyful song from their heart. Those hearts that are innocently joyful. Stop and think about the last time you yourself sang a joyful song other than in a crowd of people. It might be good to burst out in one while you're cleaning, cooking, creating, or even crying. Joyful songs erupt when amazing things have occurred. In Nehemiah 12, there was this great wall that had been built, and it says the people celebrated joyfully with songs of thanksgiving. A thankful heart caused a joyful song. And this time, cymbals, harps, and lyres were played. Have you ever been to a football game or been to one this fall? Every time there's a touchdown, the band plays, the drummers drum, and at halftime, the instruments line up and march and play celebratory tunes in anticipation of a game well played. So back in verse 31, it says there were two large choirs assigned to give thanks. One was to walk on the wall to the right with musical instruments. The second one was to proceed in the opposite direction on top of the wall, and they were to sing and rejoice because God had given them great joy. These songs could be heard far away. I've never heard of a choir that's formed specifically to sing about thanks these days, but imagine what kinds of joyful songs would emerge if there were. All the lyrics would be full of thanksgiving and praise, and I can imagine that would be awesome. In Psalm 100, we read that we're to shout, worship the Lord with gladness, and sing joyful songs. Why and how can we do this when there's obviously sorrow and hardship in the world almost on a daily basis? The next verses tell us we're to know that He is God. It is He who made us. We are His people, the sheep of His pasture. That's how we do it. That's how we cultivate a thankful heart, and that's how joyful songs erupt. I love a good worship service. Some would rather skip that altogether and just hear the teaching. Perhaps if we sing well, we might enjoy joyful songs more. But if singing on key is difficult, sometimes we might want to stand in silence. Or maybe we hear lyrics about the goodness of God and we don't feel like we're sitting under that canopy of His goodness, but we're rather in turmoil and distress. So joyful songs are easy to sing when victories are taking place, but like Miriam and the other women, we can have tambourines and instruments of praise like our hands ready to rejoice in anticipation of God's deliverance. Like the story in Nehemiah, we can be part of a choir of thanksgiving. All of our sins have been forgiven and we have our names sealed in eternity. And finally, when all things around us are bringing pain, we can rest in knowing who we belong to, who made us, who leads us, and who keeps us. And that knowledge, that knowing brings joy. Think again about that kid in the shopping cart singing at the top of his or her lungs, maybe the Frozen song, Let It Go. Or Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer that had a weird nose and felt like an outcast. Or Old MacDonald, all of those animals. Just pick a tune. Pick a childhood favorite, a worship song you love, or make up your own lyrics to love the Father. Make it full of thanksgiving, recall His victories, and expect the sea to part, and be ready with your joyful songs and tambourines to shake as you walk this way and that way with others who are singing joyful songs beside you.